The Gothic Ghost. Damn weird. Now this is based upon the research I was able to do on the whole subject of ghosts, that kind of its own little pocket, falls into the European Renaissance to Romantic period of 1500 around to 1840. Renaissance magic took a revised interest in the occult, including necromancy, in the era of the Reformation and Counter-Reformation. There was frequently a backlash against unwholesome interest in the dark arts, typified by writers such as Thomas Erastus, and the Swiss reformist pastor Ludwig or Lavater supplied one of the most frequently reprinted books of the period with his Of Ghosts and Spirits Walking by Night. The child ballad, Sweet William's Ghost, 1868, recounts a story of a ghost returning to his fiancée, begging her to free him from his promise to marry her. He cannot marry her because he is dead, but her refusal would mean his damnation. This reflects a popular British belief that the dead haunted their lovers if they took up new love, without some formal release. The unquiet grave expressed a belief even more widespread, found in various locations all over Europe. Ghosts can stem from the excessive grief of the living, whose mourning interferes with the dead's peaceful rest. In many folklores from around the world, the hero arranges for the burial of a dead man. Soon after, he gains a companion who aids him, and in the end, the hero's companion reveals that he is in fact the dead man. Instance of this includes an Italian fairy tale, Fair Brow, and the Swedish The Bird Grip. One of the more recognizable ghosts in English literature is the Shade of Hamlet's murdered father in Shakespeare's A Tragedy History of Hamlet. Prince of Denmark and Hamlet. It is the ghost who demands the Prince Hamlet investigate his murder most foul and seek revenge upon his usurping uncle, King Claudius. In English Renaissance theater, ghosts were often depicted in a garb of the living, and even in armor. As with the ghost of Hamlet's father, armor, being out of date, by the time of the Renaissance, gave the stage ghost a sense of antiquity. But this leads to one of the most interesting things I find in these researches, which actually answers something I've been wondering for a long time. We're about to see the birth of the sheet ghost. But the sheeted ghost began to gain ground on stage in the 19th century because an armored ghost could not satisfactorily convey the required spookiness. It clanked and creaked and had to be moved about by complicated Foley systems or elevators. These clanking ghosts being hosted about the stage became objects of ridicule as they became cliché stage elements. Ann Jones and Peter Strauss in Renaissance Clothing and the Materials of Memory point out, in fact, it is as laughter increased threatened the ghost that he started to be staged not in armor, but in some form of spirit drapery. The Ghost of Christmas Present, from Charles Dickens' novella, A Christmas Carol, and The Ghost of a Pirate from Howard Pyne's Book of Pirates. The classic ghost story arose during the Victorian period and included authors such as M.R. James, Sheridan Le Fay, Violet Hunt, and Henry James. Classic ghost stories were influenced by the Gothic fiction traditions and contained elements of folklore and psychology. M.R. James summed up the essence of the elements of the ghost story as malevolence and terror, the glare of evil faces, the stony grip of unearthly malice, pursuing forms in darkness, and long drawn distant screams are all in place. And so is a modicum of blood shed with deliberation and careful husband. One of the key early appearances of ghosts was the Castle of Otranto by Horace Walpole in 1764, considered to be the first Gothic novel. Famous literary apparitions from the period are the Ghost of A Christmas Carol, in which Ebenezer Scrooge is helped to see the error of his ways by the ghost of his former colleague Jacob Marley, and the Ghost of the Christmas Past, Christmas or Macbeth, seeing the ghost of Banquo by Theodore Chassereau. All of this belief in ghosts in European folklore is characterized by a recurring fear of returning or reverent decreased who may harm the living. This includes the Scandinavian Jengangar or the Strigoi of Romania, same as the Serbian vampire, the Greek Barcoculus, etc. In Scandinavian Finnish tradition, ghosts appeared in corporal form, and their supernatural nature is given away by behavior rather than appearance. In fact, in many stories, they are first mistaken for the living. They may be mute, appear and disappear suddenly, or leave no footprints or other traces. English folklore is particularly notable for its numerous haunted locations. And in a large way, that's what these seem. Not so much ghosts, but hauntings. And if you think in like the mental sense, when you see ghosts, are you seeing them, or is your brain projecting them for you? Maybe something needs to be dealt with. Maybe some message you didn't listen to when they're living, and you subconsciously stored it. And your brain's trying to replay it so you can hear it. That's a haunting in a way. You may not see things, but it is something from the past replaying itself. Belief in the soul and the afterlife remains near universal until the emergence of atheism in the 18th century. In the 19th century, spiritualism resurrected belief in ghosts as the object of systematic inquiry, and popular opinion in Western culture remains divided.